Well, hello there, Paleo FX tribe. It's good to see all you fine-looking people. Let me get mine. Am I off center here? There we go. That's much better. What am I can't tell left from right.
I know it gets a little hard, right? Go right and it comes left on the screen, so it's right weird.
Totally messes me up. Which reminds me, I don't know how the weathermen do it, where they have to like point opposite. Or I don't know. That's
pretty amazing.
Crazy. It's pretty amazing. Yes. For that talent alone, they should be appreciated. I don't know about predicting the weather, but for the ability to do that, I kudos for that. Totally off subject. How I got off on that. Wow. All right. Wade T. Lightheart, president and co-founder of BiOptimizers. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. I feel blessed to be here, and big shout out to all the healthcare workers on the front lines that are dealing with the current crisis we have. I think it's important that we recognize them and honor them, and put a good thought out for them.
Absolutely. It's always the first responders, man. It's a very unsung position to be in. And I think it's easy, to not think about them when times are good.
100%.
But times like this makes you appreciate a whole lot more. Wade, we were chatting just a little bit before we went live here. We have some commonalities in our background. You were a three-time natural bodybuilding champion. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I won the nationals at Canada 3 different times, and had the good fortune of competing at the World Championships and Mr. Universe and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was a great honor and a great experience. It caused some challenges. The competitive world is, I would say, is the performance component of self-expression.
Right.
And so you sometimes compromise your health. And for me, I blew out my digestion after the 2003 Mr. Universe, but that set me up to my message today. I had to reconstruct myself, fix my digestive system or whatever. And then it turned out, I found out that a lot of other people had that problem. And I started advocating that 16 years ago. And now it's, we have a company and all this sort of stuff. So you never know how these things go.
Right. It's amazing how those challenges, and when they happen to you at that time and you think it's the end of your world, it opens up a whole new door, which I think is very important to talk about now, because many people right now, both health and business wise, feel like, oh my God. I mean, there's this fear that's like wrapped into this whole COVID-19 thing right now. And from the psychological standpoint, people feel much more comfortable in the misery they know than a potential pleasure that's unknown on the other side. I think that puts people in a lot of fear. They're afraid to act. I personally, and maybe this is because I am just crazy as batshit. I don't, maybe that is, but this is such an exciting time for me right now, because the possibilities right now are endless. It feels very much like 2008 when it seemed, and I know Michelle and I, that it seemed at that time our world was coming to an end financially, teetered on bankruptcy, and Paleo FX was born out of that. So it's a very, very exciting time. It feels very much like that, but totally off subject. Let's get back to fixing your digestive tract, sir. So what was the plan? So your digestive tract was wrecked. And
yes, I'll just give you the background. So I had gone down the bodybuilding road for 16 years and had won a national championship, and I was doing it on a lacto-vegetarian diet. So my only source of protein at the time, because we didn't know anything else, I was using whey protein, get ready for that contest. And then after that contest, I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. So I went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow.
Right.
And I had a good fortune to meeting a medical doctor. His name was Dr. Michael O'Brien. And he had said to me something that changed my life. And he said to me, Wade, you've learned how to build the body from the outside in, but not from the inside out. And it was just like, boom, it's the sound of one hand clapping. And then the bottom line is I went and I tutored under him. He taught me about enzymes and probiotics, and no one was talking about that, and just eating all natural foods, which I was sort of that way, but I took it to the next level, and I followed him, recaptured my health in 6 months, and then started teaching the athletic and bodybuilding community, because I knew how many of them were kind of following this kind of processed protein program,
Right.
and where that would eventually lead. Like the early gains or the early advantages were setting you up for the future failure. It's like paying off your mortgage with a credit card, right? It looks good at first, everything's fine, but now the interest rate's way higher, and So long story short, we started doing that, and I experimented with my business partner and I, Matt Gallant. We had an online business that we started way back then, and started teaching people who are in the fitness and I would say the cosmetic physique world.
Right.
And after 4 years, we got a lot of data, and I was also working in a holistic health clinic in Vancouver. And I had determined that, boy, there's a lot of people with digestive health issues, and a lot of it had to do with modern food production and food distribution. Herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, all rhyme with suicide and homicide, right?
Right.
And these chemicals interrupt the enzymatic flow. These chemicals interrupt the probiotics, and those things aren't defined in our definition of food. Like, so when food was defined, we think of food as it's protein, it's carbs, it's fats, it's fiber, and maybe a couple of minerals thrown in there.
Right.
But that definition has set up a food science and a food education system in all areas that is essentially incomplete because we miss a couple of these very, very important elements. And the other thing is there's an assumption that when we consume food, that it's in our bodies, and it's a single canal from your mouth to your butt, and the food is in that tube. And what happens in that tube, which is relying on a lot of chemical processes, a lot of other agents, that if that's interrupted in any way, you cannot convert the food you eat into the building blocks that you use or for energy units.
Right.
And any food that's not used for those things, guess what? That becomes a potential toxin, and so many people derive a variety of challenges from that.
Right. Well, it's very, very cool that you came to that. Sorry that you had to go through the rough patch that you did to come to that, but that's where great ideas are born. Invention is the mother of necessity, or whatever that saying is, but it's very, very true. And yeah, I agree with you. Many, many people see the digestive tract as this black box of goes in, goes out, and something magical happens, hopefully, in between, and everything's fine. But the truth of the matter is it's not so much what you take in, it's what you absorb, right? And what you put to use. And that's really, really what matters. And to the extent that you can lessen the toxic load going into the body, that lessens a lot of energy output and use that the body has to go through otherwise for energy for other things, just like cognitive ability, for working out, for all of it, for the immune system, which everybody is tuned into right now. If you never thought once about your immune system, I guarantee you have thought about it a lot in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what a lot of people will be shocked to find out is a big part of your immune system is actually in your digestive tract, in a combination of the hydrochloric acid that you're able to produce to kill pathogens coming in, and that diminishes usually the average 40-year-olds down around 30%. And then the level of healthy bacteria you have in your gut flora, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I like to call them. It's
right.
That ratio is going to determine how well that you can fight off pathogenic viruses, bacteria, parasites, whatever that happens to be. That combination is very, very on top of the hygienic components. I mean, the hygienic components are, of course, a major breakthrough that they're advocating. Right. But at the end of the day, it is how is your internal game, which is the only thing that you can control. You can't control if somebody didn't do the social distancing thing. You can't control if somebody infected you because they didn't know they were carrying it. You can't control, and what happens, I think a lot of people get stressed about what's going on outside, and they're forgetting about, I can't change this.
Right.
But I can change this, and I can change this.
Yes.
And, the opportunity that happens in these chaoses you kind of alluded to, and I think this is really important for people to consider, is what we're experiencing is a shift in identity. We're seeing, first off, that all of humanity is interconnected. We are one unit. We're all one. And that's important. I think there's going to be some great things that come out of that.
Yep.
Number two, your identity of how you went to work or how you ran your business, or you're, or that whole relationship and the social structure that you've created, your routine, is part of your identity. That's been taken off the table. And now you're here to sit in your house with your loved ones and deal with the things that you might not have dealt with before or might not been aware of before.
Right.
And there is a golden opportunity inside of that, whether that's from a health perspective, whether that's from a business perspective, whether that's from a relationship perspective. You can take this time and really bolster yourself. And I think that's what the community that I like to spend time with, they're doing right now. They're boosting up their health. They're boosting up their knowledge. They're having discussions in their relationship that they didn't have before.
Right.
And I think this is a very, very positive thing. We can't control the other stuff. So why not work on that?
Right. You are so right. Any distraction in the outside world is exactly that. It's a distraction to take you away from work that you need to do internally. And that's exactly what it is. The more you get distracted, the more you know you have internal work to do that you're trying to avoid. And this is a great time. It's a push pause, right? If you weren't otherwise invested in your health, look inside. Like Wade said, all of that stuff outside, we can't control that. We never have. We never will be able to control that. The one thing we can control is what's going on inside this entity right here. We can control that 100% completely. So that's a great message. And I love that we're on par with that. Tell us about the BiOptimizers suite of products. What, like right now, well, what does your supplementation program look like right now?
Yeah, and I want to also caveat that I didn't get on the show just to pitch or anything, but I am going to share some things that I'm doing on a daily basis. One thing is I'm really focused on hydration. I'm making sure that I stay hydrated. Hydration is a big part of the immune system. Of course, I'm practicing all the social distancing stuff. I'm keeping my vitamin C high. I get the liposomic vitamin C. I don't make these products, but I use those and everything. I do, and I know that there's a lot of what should we say, policing of this, but I have a little silver nebulizer. I put the colloidal silver in, and I take a breathe every time I go out and I come in. I just take a few inhales on that to deal with that. So those are the things that I do, and then I double down on our product that we've created years ago, which is called P3OM, and that has a U.S. patent. And I'm going to explain something that's really, the U.S. patent demonstrates that it's antiviral and antiretroviral. Now, I'm not making a claim that it takes out the virus or that sort of stuff, but let's understand how a virus works. A virus it has all these kind of like nodules off it, which are like protein receptors, and they connect in and dock on your cells, and then they write a message and send in an RNA message in and take control and disrupt that cellular function. And this particular virus is very extreme. Well, what this patented probiotic that we developed is we took a strain of L-plantarum, which is an aggressive strain. We put it in a toxic soup, a very difficult condition, ran a sine wave through it to allow it to survive. And when they came out, we grew that on a special medium. So it became the Navy SEALs of probiotics. And that was able to go in and break down protein. Undigested proteins are one of the biggest causes of problems inside the body. What's unique about that is this stuff goes in and eats viruses. It eats the protein on the virus, rendering it inertia. So that's the power of that. And then, of course, I'm eating all natural foods and natural health. I'm getting out. I'm fortunate enough. I got out of LA and came to Sedona, Arizona, to stay with my medical researchers here.
Nice
and
choice.
I'm out. With nobody around, hiking in the hills in the sunshine, getting lots of vitamin D and lots of sunshine and breathing fresh air, and then of course passing all the practices.
Right. Very, very cool. Yes, it sounds like you've got all the bases covered, and good move to get out to Sedona. I can see the tan in your face right now.
Yeah, I'm getting about 3-4 hours, and it's just like I'm probably the age about 5 years, but I'm enjoying it.
No, it's good. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, those are very, very helpful practices. And I think what I'd like to point out is that nowhere in that protocol was fear and nervousness and, oh my God, I can't control the situation, and any of that. I mean, this is a very proactive stance. This is very much an empowered stance, not a stance of victimhood.
You're right. And I will make a point, because I do have a number of businesses and I have a ton of friends that are affected. And the way out of fear is always because you don't know how to act, or you don't have enough information to take enough action, or you don't feel confident. And I have a group of advisors, both on the health side that I refer to, and then I share that information with the world. So like I said, I'm here with my, my medical and health research. She's an expert, so she's got all the stuff down on that.
Right.
And I've got an array of people. I'm very well resourced in that, and that's why I get on these shows to talk about it. But also, I will say on the financial side, I have a tax team that I've contacted. I reached out to my banking manager. I reached out to my CFO. I reached out to all of the experts, because that's not an area I'm an expert in.
Right.
Right. So I got the information, I got the resources, I put on the videos about the things that I can do. Forget the conspiracies, forget the political grandstanding, forget the terrible numbers. I can't change any of that. What I can do is take action every day. So I'm either watching a video on health, I'm either watching a video on finances, I'm watching a video on how to manage crisis situation, what I can do. And from that, what I've discovered is my business is actually growing. My ability to impact my friends who are calling me stressed out of what to do. I'm like, here, look at this act, look at this business act, look at that act. Here's the health things that you can do, right? And all of these things, I feel very grateful because now I'm able to share those with you, because I've gone out and recognized I don't know everything. I need to get that help. And that's why I think it's so great that you have the show and you're providing a light in the darkness, if you will, for people, because we're not used to being tested. We live in a very cushy, comfortable life, the greatest lifestyle ever existed in human history. The poorest person in this country lives better than most kings did 100 years ago and has access to more information, more ability, more stuff. And we forget this. And the point is we're not suffering from a lack of resources. We're suffering from a lack of resourcefulness. And this is a time when you can find out that you can get supercharged. You can find out the super self that lives in you. This is your moment. This is the thing. And you know what? If you embrace that and are willing to let go of the idea, look, you don't want your self-worth connected to your net worth. You know what? There's losses out there. I'm not trying to minimize that. I've thought about, will I have to, let go of employers? It's a horrible position in a lot of businesses. I know what that is. Nobody can do anything about it. You've got to let go of that, and you got to work with the oxygen that you have. It's like the plane shaking. Grab the oxygen first and then help the next people first. Yep. So the first thing is get the knowledge in. Absolutely.
And I love that you bring that up. There's a couple points there. Number one, I think that's why times like this make me so excited, because it is like I've trained for my entire life for times like this, and now I get to express it, right? It's an idea of it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in war. That whole idea of preparing yourself for eventual hardships. Number one. Number two, Michelle and I don't do this alone, right? We have a team, just like you said. We have a team around us, and we contribute to that team. It's like a mini mastermind of our people who we rely on in these SMEs and the different aspects of what they do. Michelle and I don't know everything. That is really why we created PaleoFX. We knew people. We weren't the experts per se. We had our very narrow lanes of expertise in different avenues, but we didn't know everything. The one thing we did have was a hell of a network. And we had been building that network just because that's what we do and that's what we believe in. Let me find credible people who are A, credible, know their stuff, and are B, are great human beings. That's who I want on my team. And we just created that and created a business out of it. So yes, it's very, very, and this is what we want to provide to our tribe. And thank you very much, Wade, for coming on and speaking, because this is so cool. I love that we are so closely aligned. Let us take a step back just a bit. Let's get back to digestion. Wade, how would you define optimal digestion?
Right. I'll explain how digestion works real quickly in layman's terms. So there's basically 5 stages of digestion. There's the first: taste, touch, feel, smell the food, which actually preps the nervous system for that. Then it enters your mouth. You start masticating it, and you should be chewing your food up as well as possible. We live in front of screens and we kind of gobble our food. Right. I'm as a victim of that as anybody. And so I have to be conscientious of it. Chew your food, and then it goes down the esophagus into the upper cardiac portion of the stomach. There, you have 30 to 60 minutes before hydrochloric acid's going to come in. That's where the natural enzymes present in the food are supposed to break it down. And that was one of the big reasons for the raw food movement. Now, of course, one of the challenges is with the modern days food production distribution, we cook out most of the enzymes, so we don't have enzymes, and our body has to produce enzymes. That's why we get tired at turkey dinner time, over, people have the thick things and all that stuff, and they pass out because they've eaten so much. They're not able to convert the food. Your body has to manufacture enzymes. When hydrochloric acid comes in, it has two phases. You need to have sufficient amounts of it. The first thing is to disinfect your food from bacteria, parasites, viruses, all that sort of stuff, and kill it in that high acidic environment. Second thing, it changes the pH and helps break down by activating some enzymes and deactivating others as that pH changes. Now, if you don't produce enough hydrochloric acid, the interesting thing is you have a little flap on the top of your stomach called the esophageal sphincter, and that will pop open. It closes when you have sufficient hydrochloric acid in, but if you don't have enough, it stays open, and you'll get some splashing up that causes heartburn and acid reflux. So hopefully you have enough of that hydrochloric acid. That doesn't happen. Then your body will use what's called bicarbonate buffers, fancy name for minerals, to buffer that acidic chime now that after it's been contracting going on, and then that food travels into the intestinal tract. Now, this is where your gut flora are going to finish the stage. So the first stage is like cutting the grass, and the second stage is like mulching the grass. Okay, in there you have in your body anywhere from 200 to 500 strains of bacteria. In fact, if you didn't have them, you'd be dead. It's a symbiotic relationship that we need in order to digest and absorb and utilize our food, to get that last pieces of food to cross over the barrier into like amino acids and building blocks and energy units. And so I divide it up into the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's 10% good, there's 10% bad, and 80% opportunists. And as you know, as a dietary advocate, when you switch diets, your flora is going to actually change. And so you go through a transition period, and then all of a sudden you acquire more likings of the food that you're eating. Your gut bacteria breaks down, you digest it better. And that's why when you make a transition into, say, natural health food from, say, maybe like, the inside shelves of the supermarket, right? When you switch to a paleo diet, for example, there's a transition stage as your bacteria start to change. And of course, if you take an antibiotics or anything, oftentimes you wipe out the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything. And then what you feed after is really going to determine how fast your bacteria. And one of the things I love about the paleo culture is how they focus on such natural foods and fibrous foods that feed the good guys and starve the bad guys, which is really important. They also serve to fight off other bacterias and pathogens and stuff in there. And then the final stage is peristaltic contraction, which will move the waste material out of the body. And if that's not working right, you get things like constipation, or you can also get diarrhea if you're impacted, which a lot of people don't recognize. So gas, bloating, that's usually if your bacteria isn't in the right case. If you're getting acid reflux, heartburn, that's usually you don't have enough hydrochloric acid. And if you're having too much constipation, it's usually a lack of muscle tone and a lack of exercise and physicality inside your body. So combining all of those things together will allow you to have a healthy, high-performing digestive system. And for people who are compromised, what I suggest is 3 stages. Take enzymes before your meal, hydrochloric acid, and then take like a P3O like in the evening before you go to bed. And that's going to allow you to just regulate everything until you get your bacteria in the optimal place in your system optimized.
Right. And I love that because it is a whole system. And I love how you brought in physical movement into this too. Yes, physical movement does play a part back around to the healthy digestion. I mean, it's all a part of that.
Yeah, and in one of the things that I do every single morning, I have a series of energization exercises I do through, which is a kind of like a Tai Chi or Qigong or Ayurvedic practice. And I do a little thing where I stand like holding my knees, so in a half stance like this, and I push my belly out and I exhale all the air. I do a double exhale, like exhale it all out. And then I bring my stomach in and out as fast as I can without breathing, 10 or 15 times. And then I'll take a breath, exhale it out. And I'll do that 5 to 10 times every morning to activate the peristaltic contractions inside my body, because we do sit so much more than our ancestors did. And that really prevents us from allowing the movement of food in our body in the way that it should.
Very interesting. Yeah. What is that move called, by the way? Because somewhere in the back recesses of my mind, I have seen this move. I just cannot remember what it.
I don't even know what it's called anymore. I've been doing it for so long, I forgot. I'll call it the forgotten peristaltic stomach move by Wei T. Lightheart.
Oh God! If I remember it, I'll drop it in the.
It's kind of like Nali, I think, is some of the terms that they refer to in Ayurvedic, but it emerges in different cultures and different times as different things.
Yeah, very, very cool. I have jotted a note. I'll go and I'll look for that. I'll drop it in the show notes if I find it, because I like that move too. Not that I've done it. That reminds me that, yeah, that's probably something I need to add into my morning routine. The low stomach acid thing is so ironic to me, because back in the day when people would have acid reflux, what would they take? Antacids, right? Which is totally counterintuitive. And I don't think I don't think this was on my radar until it was brought up way back in the day. And you probably know this guy, Charles Poliquin, back when he was alive. He was a huge advocate of supplementing hydrochloric acid, especially in those who had acid reflux, which sounded so counterintuitive at the time, but he was absolutely right about that.
Charles was a true genius, and he left the world much too soon. Right. And he had a big influence on me as well. Of course, he was the strength sensei and had studied different languages, because he saw that there was biases in different cultures, right?
And a fellow Canadian too. Right?
A fellow Canadian, yes. And yeah, he had a couple interesting points that I thought were breakthroughs. His use of magnesium in high performance health, his use of hydrochloric acid and enzymes to enhance recovery and training and digestion of the food that he was consuming. Yeah, real genius, and broke through on so many barriers, and definitely had a positive influence in my life. But if you look at the research where they put these PPIs, these proton pump inhibitors, the medical literature says that you should only be on those for anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and you need to be off them. But the thing is your medical doctor, he's there to treat the symptoms of disease. That's what it says in the New England Journal of Medicine. Mm-hmm. He or she does not have the background, the nutritional training, the physiological training for exercise and performance and these type of things to give you advice, and therefore they don't. In fact, they're bound not to in many cases.
Right.
That's where you need to get your ND. That's where you need to get your holistic health nutritionist. This is where you need to find those people and realize that we've stripped away many of the essential components that were critical in developing a strong and healthy digestion system by having natural, healthy, whole foods like you advocate in the Paleo FX diet, and bringing this into your life. But recognize, if you've been living this way for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you're going to need to bring some things in to get you through the transition period until you can, kickstart your life.
Right. You need a team. It's always the team. You can't do this alone, nor would you want to. I mean, it's a much more enjoyable path to do it with other like-minded people. And I think it's very, very true.
It really is. And one of the things that makes us human is the social bonds, the social connections. And in this increasingly digital world, we have these loose connections. But when you come out to an event, like the event that you guys put on, which is so awesome, is you get to actually press the flesh, meet the people, have a connection, have a talk, get that hit that just activates the billions of years of evolutionary biology. And you go, okay, I'm part of this tribe now. And if there's one thing I can say, identity trumps information all the time. And right now, people's identities are being threatened. Mm-hmm. And it's an opportunity to let go of the old identity and take on the new identity. And that's the opportunity that so many people are facing. And that's the opportunity that's within this situation. It
is a golden opportunity indeed. Seize the moment. And I keep going back to this, the Chinese symbol for chaos embodies both danger and opportunity. And it is so true. See the opportunity in this time, seize it, and, metamorphosize into a healthy, vibrant human being. Hashtag tribe strong, hashtag become harder to kill. Absolutely. Wade, it was a pleasure having you on today, sir. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day. I'm sure it's beautiful and sunny in Sedona right now. And thank you very much for coming on and talking to the PaleoFX tribe for us.
Really appreciate it, and I can't wait to meet everybody when the event finally happens. I'm going to be there, and I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to connecting with everybody and sharing more of the love and the information.
Absolutely. It is such an awesome vibe under normal circumstances. Under these circumstances, when we do get to be able to come together again, it is going to be epic, and we cannot wait for it. Wade, thank you very much, sir, for coming on. I can't wait to talk to you some more. We have a lot. It sounds like we have many common acquaintances and a love for all things health and wellness and physical culture. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, tribe. Peacing out for now. We will be back, of course, keeping you informed and in the loop. Everybody hang tight out there. We'll all get through this. Just hang tight. Hang tight. Wade, thanks, man.